What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Qliphort deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Zak. And this deck is an extremely fun pendulum deck that I've included all sorts of spicy tech cards in this build for you guys. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. And definitely give Zak some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Qliphort Scout. Scout is an amazing 3-of in the build because this card is actually the searcher of the deck with the ability that once per turn you can actually pay 800 life points to add a Qli card from your deck to your hand, except another copy of Scout, grabbing the exact card that we need. We then play 3 copies of Monolith. Monolith is great to help us dig into the deck. This card actually gives us draws with the ability that once per turn during the end phase, if you tribute summoned this turn, you can actually draw a number of cards equal to the number of Qli monsters that you tributed for tribute summon this turn, which is an amazing ability when you summon out your copy of Towers because you get a draw 3 during the end phase. We then play 3 copies of Carrier. Here is an amazing 3-of in the build, and all of our Qli effect monsters actually share a common effect with the ability you can actually normal summon this card without tributing. And if you normal summon this card without tributing or its special summon, its level becomes 4 and its original attack becomes 1800. And if this card is normal summoned or set, it's unaffected by the activated effects of any monster whose original level or rank is lower than this card's current level, which is a pretty cool ability to be able to use. But this card's unique effect is if this card is tributed, you get to target a monster on the field and return it back to the hand, which is a great effect to help you bounce cards off the field. We then play 3 copies of Helix. Helix is really good as a 3-of in the build, as if this card is actually tributed, you get to target a spell or trap on the field and destroy it, which is a great effect to help us pop back row. We then play 2 copies of Stealth. Stealth is great in the deck as a 2-of because this card is actually a speed spell for bounce with the ability that if this card is tribute summoned by tributing a Qli monster, you can actually target 1 card on the field and return it back to the hand. And your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation, which is a crazy powerful effect. We then play 2 copies of Disc. Disc is great as a 2-of in the build because this card helps us swarm the board, as when this card is tribute summoned by tributing a Qli monster, you can special summon 2 Qli monsters from your deck but destroy them during the end phase, but it's a great effect to help us get more monsters on the field. With my single copy of Shell, Shell is great to help us OTK, as this card is an awesome ability that if this card is normal summoned by tributing a Qli monster, it can make a second attack during each battle phase, and if it does attack, it does piercing damage, which is amazing. We then play a single copy of Qliphort Towers. Towers is an amazing 1-of in the build and our big boss monster of the deck. This card cannot be special summoned. It requires 3 Qli tributes to actually normal summon this card out to your side of the field. And if this card is normal summoned, it's unaffected by spell or trap effects and the activated effects of any monster whose original level or rank is lower than this card's current level. And all special summon monsters lose 500 attack and defense points. And once per turn, you can make your opponent send a monster from their hand or their side of the field to the graveyard, their choice, which is a crazy powerful effect. But this card is an amazing boss monster to be able to play. We then play a single copy of Skybase. Skybase is very similar to your copy of Towers with the ability it cannot be special summoned. It requires 3 Qli tributes to normal summon this card, and if it is normal summon, it's unaffected by spell or trap effects and the activated effects of any monster whose original level or rank is lower than this card's current level. And this card is a great effect that once per turn, you can actually target a monster your opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase, which is a great effect just to help you go in for game by taking control of your opponent's monsters. We then play 3 copies of Perform Pal Trampolinix. This card is really good as a 3-of in the build, as this card actually helps us bounce our copy of Scout directly back to our hand with the ability that when you pendulum summon a monster, you can actually target 1 card in either player's pendulum zone and return it back to the hand, which is a great effect for this card to have to actually activate your copy of Scout, get a search, and then once you do, you can actually pendulum summon with this card and your copy of Scout, so you can actually bounce your copy of Scout back to hand and then activate it again so you can get additional search, which is so cool. This card also has a really good monster effect that when this card is normal summon, you can actually target a card in either player's pendulum zone and return it back to the hand, which is a great effect to again bounce our copy of Scout because Scout is a soft once per turn. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with 3 copies of Summoner's Art. Summoner's Art is really good as a 3-0 in the build because this card can actually search our copy of Scout directly from our deck to our hand or a copy of Monolith. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Pot of Extravagance is an amazing 3-0 in the deck, so we really don't need the extract that much in this deck. So this card is basically a free draw 2. We then play 3 copies of Sacrifice. Sacrifice is definitely a 3-0 in the build, as this card is able to equip only to a Qli monster, and it gains 300 attack points and cannot be destroyed by battle. And the equipped monster can be treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a Qli monster, making it easier to summon out your copy of Skybase or your copy of Towers. This card also has a really cool ability that if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can actually add a Qli monster from your deck to your hand, grabbing the exact card that you need. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Skill Drain. Skill Drain is amazing in this deck to basically just stop your opponent's monsters effects on the field, as this card really doesn't affect us that much and actually helps us in this deck. We then play a single copy of Goes and Match. Goes and Match is great as a 1-0 in the build because each player can only control 1 attribute of monster, which is amazing for us because we're only ever going to control basically our Earth Qli monsters, so this card is amazing in the build as a 1-0. With my single copy of Recreate, this card is really cool as a 1-0 in the deck, as this card has the ability if a monster is normal or flip summon, and it is a level 4 or lower monster, negate its effects until the end of this turn, which helps us a lot with our Qli monsters when we normal summon them to our side of the field. And if a monster is special summon and it's levels 5 or higher, negate its effects until the end of this turn, also banish it when it leaves the field. And if there's no Qli card on the field except this card, send this card to the graveyard. We then play 3 copies of Lose One Turn. Lose One Turn is an amazing floodgate in the deck and helps out so much in this build because you activate this card only if you currently control no special summon monsters, which we usually won't when you actually want to activate this card, so we're just going to normal summon out a Qli monster and set this card to our side of the field. This card also has a really cool ability that while a monster is face up on the field, negate its effects during the turn that monster was special summoned, and if an effect monster is special summoned in attack position, change it to defense position, which is a crazy powerful ability. This card is such a good floodgate in the deck and helps out so much in this build. We then finally play 3 copies of Dominus Purge. Dominus Purge is great as a 3-0 in the build because this card is basically 3 copies of Ash Blossom to basically just stop our opponent in their tracks from adding cards from their deck to their hand. Now for a more budget option for you guys, you could play 3 copies of Ash Blossom, but this card is just really good in the build, or you can play 3 copies of Imperm instead, which is another budget option for you guys. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we are playing an Extravagance deck, so we're going to see a lot of 3-ofs in the extra deck. We're going to actually start off with 3 copies of Qliphort Genius. Now this card is definitely a 3-of in the build. The card we summon out all the time in this deck. And this card has the ability, just requires 2 machine monsters to make this card, and this link summon card is unaffected by spell or trap effects and the activated effects of other link monsters. And once per turn, you can turn a face-up card on each player's monster's field, except this card, and both of those cards have their effects negated until the end of this turn, which actually helps us a lot with our clean monsters that we normal summon to our side of the field. This card also has the ability when 2 monsters are special summoned at the same time to zone this card point to, basically pendulum summoning, you can actually add a level 5 or higher machine monster from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect to be able to grab one of our big boss monsters directly from our deck. We might see a copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax. Avermax is a great option in the deck. So when you summon this card out with your copy of IP Masquerena, it's basically invincible, so this card is a good option in the deck. We might have seen a copy of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight is really cool as a 1-of in the build, as this card just helps us use this card as a double interruption. We might have seen a copy of IP Masquerena. IP is great to be able to use in the deck to basically step into your copy of either SP or your copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax, which is super cool to be able to do. We then play 2 copies of Baguska. Baguska is great in the deck just as an option just to slow down the game just in case you need to. We then play 2 copies of Cyber Dragon Nova. Nova is great in the build, so we can basically use this card to step into our copy of Infinity. Infinity is awesome because this card is basically a walking negate, and it can gobble up cards and attach it to this card, which is really cool. We might have seen a copy of Zeus. Zeus is great in the build as a 1-up, but it's not super important in the deck because we don't want to destroy our scales, so this card is really good just as a 1-of in the build. We then play 2 copies of Typhon. Typhon is amazing in the deck as a 2-of because this card has a really cool ability to basically be a skill drain for 3,000 or higher attack with monsters and a balance, which is super cool about this card. This card is an amazing 2-of option in the deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play, and hopefully in the future we actually get support for Qliphort, as this deck is just really, really neat and a really awesome deck to be able to play. So that's good for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come for our notification squad, and definitely tell what you guys think of this deck down in the comments down below. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.